The screech of sirens sliced through the night as Ava's wrists burned under the tight grip of handcuffs, her breath catching in her throat. She wasn't supposed to be here, in the back of a police van, her life unraveling in a single moment of chaos. Across the street, in another van, Lucas sat with his head against the window, his own cuffs a cold reminder of the fight he hadn't started. Their eyes locked through the darkness, a fleeting glance that carried the weight of shared desperation. Strangers bound by circumstance, they had no idea that this night would rewrite their futures, chaining their hearts together in ways neither could have imagined. Ava, 27, was a nurse in Atlanta, her life a careful balance of long shifts and quiet evenings with her cat, Machi. Raised in a working-class family, she'd clawed her way through nursing school, driven by a need to help others and prove herself. But beneath her calm demeanor simmered a fire. She believed in standing up for what was right, even when it scared her. That's why she'd joined the downtown rally for police reform, holding a sign, chanting for change. She never expected the protest to spiral, for tear gas to cloud the air and for her to be swept up in a wave of arrests. Her heart raced as she sat in the van, her scrub still stained from a 12-hour shift, wondering how she'd explain this to her boss, her family, herself. Lucas, 29, was a different story. A carpenter with calloused hands and a guarded heart, he'd grown up in foster homes, learning early that trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. He was at the protest not out of conviction but obligation. His best friend, Marcus, had begged him to come, promising it would be peaceful. Lucas didn't care much for causes, he cared about keeping his head down and his small business afloat. But when the crowd turned volatile, when batons swung and Marcus froze, Lucas stepped in, shoving his friend out of the way and taking the hit instead. Now, cuffed and staring at Ava, he felt a strange pull, like she was the only person in this mess who might understand. Their first challenge was immediate, surviving the dehumanizing chaos of the arrest process. At the precinct, Ava was herded into a holding cell with other women, her phone confiscated, her pleas for explanation ignored. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, amplifying her fear that this could cost her nursing license. Lucas, in the men's cell, kept his cool, but inside, he was unraveling. Another arrest could violate his probation from a teenage joyriding charge, derailing the life he'd worked so hard to build. Their paths crossed in the booking room, where Ava, clutching her ID, caught Lucas's eye. "This is a nightmare," she whispered, more to herself than anyone. Lucas, leaning against the wall, replied softly, "Nightmares end. We'll get through this." His words, simple but steady, were the first spark of hope she'd felt all night. The next challenge was navigating the legal fallout. Both faced charges of disorderly conduct, vague enough to stick but hard to fight. Ava's hospital placed her on leave pending the case, her supervisor's cold email warning that professional conduct was non-negotiable. Lucas's probation officer was less forgiving, hinting at jail time if convicted. With no money for private attorneys, they relied on overworked public defenders who barely glanced at their files. Yet, in the courthouse waiting rooms, Ava and Lucas found each other again. They talked, about the protest, about the fear of losing everything. Ava confessed her guilt over straying from her safe life. Lucas admitted he felt like he'd never outrun his past. Their conversations became a lifeline, each one stitching them closer together. The turning point came when Ava's co-worker, Jamal, a tech-savvy orderly, found a bystander's livestream from the protest. The grainy footage showed Ava trying to calm the crowd and Lucas shielding Marcus, proof they weren't instigators. Ava tracked down the livestreamer, a teenager named Zoe, who agreed to submit the video to the court. Lucas, meanwhile, used his street smarts to charm a bailiff into ensuring their case was heard quickly. In court, their public defenders presented the evidence, and after tense deliberation, the judge dismissed the charges. As they stepped into the sunlight outside the courthouse, Ava's knees buckled with relief. Lucas caught her arm, steadying her. "We're free," he said, his voice thick. She nodded, tears stinging her eyes. "Yeah. Together." But freedom didn't erase the scars. Ava returned to work, only to face sidelong glances and whispers from colleagues who saw her as reckless. Her confidence, once unshakable, wavered under the weight of judgment. Lucas struggled to rebuild his business, as clients hesitated to hire someone with an arrest record, even a dismissed one. Worse, Marcus distanced himself, blaming Lucas for the protest's fallout. The world felt heavier, more unfair than ever. Yet, Ava and Lucas leaned on each other. They met at a diner, then a park, their talks stretching late into the night. Ava loved Lucas's quiet humor, the way he could make her laugh even when she felt broken. Lucas admired Ava's courage, her refusal to let fear define her. Their bond deepened, a fragile but fierce love taking root. The biggest challenge came when Ava was offered a transfer to a prestigious hospital in Seattle, a career-defining move, but one that meant leaving Atlanta, and Lucas, behind. He was still on probation, anchored to the city for another year. Over dinner, Ava broke the news, her voice trembling. "This is everything I've worked for, but I don't want to lose you." Lucas's jaw tightened, his heart torn between wanting her to stay and knowing she had to go. "You're not losing me," he said finally, his hand over hers. "Go be incredible. I'll find a way to you." His sacrifice, his belief in her, gave Ava the strength to take the leap. They tackled the distance with stubborn hope. Ava threw herself into her new role, while Lucas worked overtime, saving money and petitioning to transfer his probation. They called each other nightly, sharing stories of their days, their voices bridging the miles. When Lucas's probation was finally lifted, he drove cross-country to surprise Ava, showing up at her Seattle apartment with a toolbox and a grin. "Told you I'd find a way," he said as she flung herself into his arms, both of them laughing through tears. Their love, forged in the crucible of handcuffs and hardship, became a testament to resilience. They'd faced chaos, judgment, and distance, but each challenge only strengthened their bond. For the millions who'd watched their story on YouTube, the message resonated: love doesn't need perfect circumstances, only two people willing to fight for it. Ava and Lucas, once strangers in a police van, had found something unbreakable, a love that turned chains into freedom, inspiring others to hold on, no matter the odds.